I forgot to mention Patty. Sorry about that. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Arpita. Hello. Lou. Ah. 98, refuge in bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And then we'll recite the four immeasurables on page 34. So bring to mind all your loved ones, all your friends, all the people of your life. Really imagine them sitting here with you. And that we're surrounded by all sentient beings on this planet and the universe. If the universe is round, we're kind of in the center. So they're all round. I don't know that it's round. So these four immeasurables are just our four wishes for the universal mind we're trying to develop, the universal mind of love, that which is all sentient beings to be happy, the universal mind of compassion, that wishes all sentient beings to be free from suffering, the universal mind of joy that takes delight in the happiness of others, and the universal mind of equanimity that does not discriminate between friends and enemies. It just recognizes that all beings have Buddha potential. So we can wish them all equally happiness and freedom from suffering. Oh. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So last week we were talking about this tenderness of heart, this loving kindness that we often refer to as love and compassion in Buddhism, and this is the proof, according to the Buddha, that we all have Buddha potential, is that everybody feels compassion at moments in their life. They don't have universal compassion. They may not like people, but they may like their pets. We just all have that ability, that capacity. And you see it in animals, you see it in rats, you see it in children, it's just something that naturally comes to us, this desire to comfort someone if they're suffering, this desire to be of help. It doesn't matter who we're looking at, we can find this capacity. And this is what can be cultivated to complete enlightenment. That it is this recognition that instead of being separate, instead of being isolated, instead of being me against you or us against them, that we're a we, and that our happiness depends on this we, this all living beings. And there's no need to feel that that the only way to happiness is just taking care of me and mine. our little sphere. That the actual way to happiness is really getting in touch with this tender heart that connects us. It's something that we share. So I asked people if they would notice when they find themselves shutting a door this week, when they realize that they, oh, I had a moment, I had an opportunity to connect, but instead I shut the door, started to close the door, So how was that experience looking for it? Everybody speak at once. Yes, Rob.
For me, it happens all the time. All the time. Whenever it's always about I, me, mine, right? So as soon as I'm feeling aversion to something or grasping at something, I'm automatically boom, right there. I've lost it. Can't bring myself back in.
Okay, when you bring yourself back in, so you're saying you lose it as soon as you get, if there's any aversion or irritation or blah, blah, blah. So what does it look like in those moments?
I get anxious. I can feel it physically.
You feel the physical anxiety. It's that contraction, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like the heart is literally contracting. Okay.
So I feel it physically. And then I start to blame and shame and put it outside of myself.
Yeah. Okay. So then we spread the glory. It's everybody else's fault. Anybody can relate to this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of our almost knee-jerk reaction. We're so habituated to it, can be reflexive, that we just have this habit of, and this is what can be, we're closing our heart in that moment. So you say then you reel yourself back in. What does that mean?
Because in practice, what I become more aware of it now, more aware of it. So it's not, it's knee-jerk and it occurs, but then I notice it.
And then when you notice it, when you say you reel yourself back in, what are you saying? Are you opening your door?
I'm opening the door, some space there, literally putting some space there with a breath,
right?
Walking away from, doing something different.
Yeah. So interrupting that energy, by taking a pause, by taking a breath, by just literally sometimes what you need to do is move the energy. So you get up, you walk around, you take a moment, so to speak. So that we can keep our hearts open. Because what is the danger when we don't keep our hearts open?
You become more set in your habits and you just kind of harden.
Yeah, we just keep, so for one thing is that our practice of doing that is stronger if we don't resist it, if we don't notice it and then go, oh, maybe not, Were you going to say something, Graziella?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe complete disconnection.
Complete disconnection.
I have a sense of heaviness and darkness.
Yeah.
That I just got myself into a hole.
Yes, it can cause, because when you think of it, it's like you're shutting out the light. When we close that heart, this is where the light is with this open heart. It's when we actually open our heart, which is why when you fall in love, when you have that, initial stage of infatuation, which isn't very meaningful, but we all enjoy the process, right? But there's a lightness to our being. We find everything a little easier to manage, but it's that feeling, because it feels buoyant. What is the word? Buoyant, like when something floats. Buoyant. Thank you. I have no sound ability. Buoyant. Okay. So, it's that kind of, we filled ourselves with this feeling, and physically, I mean, they can, there are chemical things going on when we've, fallen in love or whatever. And so all that's going, and we like that feeling, So when we cultivate this, where it's not lust or, attraction or whatever, where it comes from within, when it reflects an open heart from within, you don't need outer circumstances to lift the heart. You do it from within, from trusting our connectedness, from trusting that even though this is a bad moment, it's going to change, and I'm not alone. There are other people who can relate. No, keeping that door open is that process of being able to allow ourselves to say, I don't need to shut people out. Even if we're, startled by something, because like when you said, when Ralph was saying, that there's a version arises, then he can immediately, slam the door. So those are moments with practice that we can go, oh, I don't need to close the door. I also don't need to act out anger. I can perhaps become curious about what's happening in this moment. If someone's yelling at me, I can step back and think, wow, wonder what's going on for them. We can kind of step out of the center of attention and allow somebody else to take up that space and try to look at it from their point of view. With this understanding, they're just like us. We often just forget that part. This is just another human being trying to be happy and doesn't know what they're doing. Who thinks that, screaming at you is going to get their way, or I'm standing there being impatient with you, and they're going, what's Tendron all about? We can do these, we can bring curiosity to it with an open heart. That's the key. It's got to be this, openness. This is another human being who suffers just like I do, who I don't know what's going on for them, but I do know what's underneath me when I'm yelling or being a jerk or when I'm anxious. We can just kind of try to, come from that angle. Does that make any sense? What are the problems with that? So we can rush out and do that, right? So, yep. What is the difficulty with actually doing it? Keeping the heart open, being curious in the moment. One is habit. We talked about that. We had this knee-jerk reaction. What are some other obstacles?
Like I'm wired to go to this one.
That means it's habit. This feeling that we're wired to respond in a certain way. How many people feel like, well, of course I respond this way. It's natural to respond this way. If someone's hurting me, it's natural to kind of, want to put up a defense or an offense. Maybe you don't.
Just go back and speak positively.
Go back and speak personally, positively.
Yeah.
Well, if you feel positive, but I mean, I think, if we come from a curious place, like really curious about what's happening for this other person, with a positive slant, this assumption that they're not some serial killer that's about to, lose it. They're just a human being struggling. So whatever harm we're feeling from them in that moment, perhaps it's exactly the kind of harm we're tempted to inflict back. Well, if you want to get angry back, slam the door in their face. Maybe that's what they're doing to you. They just had it happen in the moment before you saw them. They storm into your office and decide to have a rant. Yes.
To don't put the chain, anger is nowadays never.
Yes, and everything we do is never ending if we just keep repeating it. So we can repeat curiosity. We can repeat keeping the heart open. We can repeat connectedness. What we've been repeating might be defensiveness, might be a way of protecting the heart, which doesn't work. Yeah.
Sometimes I try remembering, especially when I'm driving, the last time I did that to somebody.
Right. And that's that curiosity. That's allowing ourselves to let someone else take central stage.
To your question, what gets in the way? For me, I find that it's motivation sometimes. I have that motivation to want to.
This is the point of doing exercises like we did in meditation this morning, about thinking about those moments of connection we've had and recognizing we like them. Even when they're sad, we still feel better feeling connected. We have to see that as worthwhile, because that will help us be motivated to keep doing it or to even try it out. So we have to cultivate this. If it doesn't come naturally to us, some people it comes naturally to. What will we say is the reason for that? That it comes naturally to some people. This is a Buddhist test.
Previous life
Practice. This is practice. Might be previous life practice, because like sometimes children are just like that. They come sharing, generous, kind-hearted. They've just been practicing it more, as opposed to practicing aversion or anger. And we want to look at what is the disturbing emotions that arise, because they are the obstacles. Our disturbing emotion arises. We are front and center. We are the only thing that matters when our disturbing emotion arises. It's all about me. How dare you treat me this way? I don't deserve this. Whatever. I'll never live through it. Yes.
I think when you open your heart, you also have to let go of expectations that you're going to have an immediate response from the person.
Yeah, that it's reciprocal.
Right. That's not the purpose or the reason. And sometimes if you feel that, well, they're not responding to me with an open heart, but I'm just going to shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. If they don't respond in kind, we hold it against them.
Just going back to the driving thing, what I do is that occasions when people go past and they make a mistake or they go on and then they give you the thing or whatever it's like. Wow.
Yep. Have a good day, sir. We don't have to take on that energy, do we? But often we do. And we want to perhaps change that. And we want to change it. In Buddhism, the whole idea is that the path to happiness is cherishing others. You can't do that when you're angry at others, when you're suspicious of others, when you resent others, when you think others are, out to get you, whatever, or just inconsiderate, blah, 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 If we think happiness is that we get something, like when we respond with an open heart, we expect them to reciprocate. Then it's a contract, and they didn't sign it. So we really want to look at, I want to do this because I will feel better. I don't need them to act in any particular way. It'd be great if they do. So we can have those shared moments of connection. But if not, I can connect without them being ready to respond in that way. Because our very way of responding, our habitual way of responding, if it's about closing the door, means we know how they feel. If they're closing the door on us, we've done that. It'd be lovely if when we're in a good place and we respond to everything graciously and with kindness, and appreciation. If, then it would be immediately contagious and everybody would be that way. But we're not, are we? We don't, it's not like that. We tend to live in little bubble with our own worries and our own concerns all bubbling around us. So we're not entirely aware of each other, which is why if somebody attacks us, we often just attack back or shut down because we have our bubbles closed. We don't pop the bubble to see what's out there. We're just responding from within our own bubble. Well, does this image work for you? Always coming up with new images.
So
Yeah.
What I consider sometimes is when I'm in those moments that people are triggered, is that I see the 5-year-old,
Yes, I find that also very, very helpful.
and the louder they are, is the louder they're saying I need more.
What is your name?
Phil.
Phil's saying he likes when he's experiencing one of these kinds of moments with someone else, he likes to see them as a 5-year-old. It's really helpful if we can remember that this person used to be an infant. And if it was an infant in our presence who was crying, we wouldn't hate them or think that they're trying to purposely harm us. No, we would try to make it better. Because this is that compassion we have. When we see someone that we see as helpless, vulnerable, not able to communicate, clearly, we kind of want to help.
But also, this is when a lot of their triggers were set in place when they were 5 years old.
Yeah, or past life or whatever.
Yeah.
And because we can be jerks.
Right.
Because we have ignorance. We think that somehow there's a self that has to be protected, that's more important than everybody else's self, that has loved ones that are more important than everybody else's loved ones. We disconnect, we separate ourselves as if somehow our little group over here is somehow really different from your little group over there. And it's not true. But as long as we think our happiness depends on us seeing things that way, and it kind of looks that way, don't we? We all look very separate. We can't read each other's minds, so we can't just immediately know what someone's going through, what's in their head or heart. It's not really in the body at all, but that's another story. So really, being able to think, especially like with someone you deal with all the time that you maybe have difficulties with, you have time to practice that, to kind of think of them before you bump into them, that this is someone who used to be a baby, who was a child, that they didn't want to grow up having this fight, So it's that kind of shift, and we have to practice it. It doesn't come naturally to us. We need to try to remember to do it and practice it. And with people we deal with a lot or who we feel shut down around, we can practice it when they're not there. And this is one of the advantages of using something like, an analytical meditation, where you reflect on the relationship and you try to look at it from a different angle. This is another human being just like me, with all the different flaws and thoughts and ignorance, completely drowning in ignorance, who also thinks that getting what they want is the way to have happiness. And we're just mistaken about it. And it's hard to let go of that habit. Because we do, in fact, enjoy getting what we want. It just doesn't last very long, does it? When we get what we want, what's next? Am I hearing more? We want something else. There's always something we want more, and what's next? We enjoy things, and that's wonderful. We should enjoy things. No harm in that. It's just thinking that inner happiness is dependent upon that is a faulty way of thinking, because nothing out there, nothing even here, is permanent. It's constant change. So when we have a narrow viewpoint of seeing others, like if whoever's our enemy at the moment, as this independent, solid, unchanging enemy, they're always a jerk, they're always selfish, they're always whatever, inconsiderate, they're always harsh, they're always, I don't know, stupid, whatever you want to go with, it's not true. That's a lie. So we're on the wrong track already. So that's one of those errors we make, thinking things are just solid, unchanging, permanent, even though intellectually we get that they're not like that. But when we're responding from that space, when we're feeling all, affronted by their actions or attitudes, this is what our habit does. We contract. And so we just look at what's negative in the other person. So when we're practicing, we can remind ourselves, this person has a whole life I know nothing about. They've been a baby. They've been someone's precious child. Perhaps they have a precious child. Perhaps they have a precious grandchild. So we want to, when we're not in their presence, really try to cultivate that connection. So we can use our experiences with people we do know, that we've made connections with, as a way to remind ourselves, this person, there's no reason for me to think this person's somehow different. We may never, have a connected moment together. We may never share one. But that doesn't mean it's not possible, or that they don't have all the things, all the qualities of those that I do share these moments with. What am I making sense? Sometimes I feel like I start in the middle of a conversation. So we want to practice that and really think about, how do I just keep my heart soft? So you think about like one of, I've shared this before. It's really a stupid way to do it, but I just do is I read all the good stories on Instagram in the morning for a few minutes, spend 10 minutes scrolling Instagram and just look for the good stories, the cute little puppies and babies and people who help and, kind of stories. And I let myself feel that sappy, sentimental kind of, oh, isn't that wonderful, kind of feeling. Because it feels good. The fact that we have that capacity is really a wonderful thing. And we want to get in touch with it more often. When we're children, we get in touch with it more easily because we have nothing else, constricting us. Pride's not real big on our list of things to worry about. We don't care about looking sentimental or, whatever. Whatever those little forces that we had that we guard ourselves with, wanting to look a certain way, be a certain way, not be vulnerable, like we talked about last week. We find it kind of scary to be vulnerable when it's actually the path to happiness. Allowing us to have that connection. This does not mean that we spend time with someone who is trying to hurt us in that moment. We don't need to be around angry people all the time. What we want to do is understand angry people to understand that they are not some other species. They're just a sentient being just like us. They want to be happy and they don't know what they're doing. Does that mean we have to just be present with their anger all the time? No. It's not compassionate to do that. We want to be able to help each other, reduce those kinds of habits. And sometimes that just means not being, being the witness to it all the time. But it's understanding where that comes from. People carry a lot of stuff. And it all comes from all the actions that we do that we think are going to make us happy, which in fact are just distorted. People who are greedy, people who are greedy, like they're a separate group. When we're greedy, or when we're, feeling the need to be right, or the need to be the center of attention, or the need to be whatever, those kind of things. We do things that can hurt each other. Like we might make a joke at someone else's expense because everybody laughs. And then we're the center of amusement. But we've just stabbed somebody in the heart. Yeah.
And how do you respond to that if somebody's making a joke? Like, or being disrespectful in front of other people, you just don't respond, or?
It depends. We have to come from a loving heart, not one that wants to show you're a jerk.
Right.
We can first of all not laugh. Recognize, that kind of humor doesn't amuse me. Or we can laugh and go, why am I laughing at this? That's not very nice, Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? So we want to try to coming from a loving place, both for the person who does the action that's not so good, as well as the person who may be feeling harmed by the action. We want to care about them both, because it's not an us or them. It's us. It's just us. And we all act like jerks occasionally. So we want to remember that too. So before you speak up or say something, you can just, very kindly say, I think that's very funny. And then of course you'll probably get that, what is it, word? Oh, well, someone will probably pipe up, say, oh, don't take it so seriously, or, blah, 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 and put you down. And then we can all just keep putting each other down, or we can just let it drop. But the fact that we can't always fix situations doesn't mean we want to shut the door. And it doesn't mean we want to then have look at this, somebody's been working hard.
They've been up there the whole time.
They've been up there the whole time, been paying any attention, because I can't really see them without turning my head this way. See how far I have to turn my head? So, this desire to not just keep the heart open, but to fix the world, we have to watch out for that, because we can't fix the world. Why can't we fix the world? This is another Buddhist quiz.
Because it's perfect.
No, or not, because it's samsara. It's the opposite of perfect. It could be perfect if we were all enlightened, because it's not the world that's messed up, it's our perception that's messed up. But if the law of cause and effect is correct, then all the, our suffering is caused by our actions. So until we quit those actions, suffering can arise. So we can't fix other people's karma, but we can be conditions to make it less likely for them to repeat these habits that cause harm. And this is true for ourselves as well. The biggest thing that we can fix is our own minds, our own hearts. Instead of giving in to that impulse to generate aversion or greed or, showing how clever we are, and just, whatever. We can keep our hearts open and, and recognize the suffering that's being expressed from others. And when we can be there for them.
So if you're offended by, say, someone's disrespect, does that mean that you're attached to the opposite of that? That you're attached to things going the way you want them to go, or?
That's probably why we're offended. It does not mean that we can't say, I find that remark offensive.
Okay.
Isn't that coming into judgment of right and wrong? And then
But there is right and wrong. Don't kill me, please.
Okay, I disagree. But,
Yeah, that's fine.
Because that's the ego coming into play.
But there is a body that can be harmed. There is a mind that can be harmed. We can hurt each other. There's no question about it. And the way to happiness is to abandon the non-virtuous actions, the actions that harm. So in that sense, they're wrong, just in everyday conventional language. They're not helpful.
And that's not passivity, right? That's not being passive.
No. But the point is, a Buddha is never offended.
It's never what?
Offended,
Okay.
because they know that whatever remark is being said comes from ignorance. They don't take it personally. They know that it's not personal, that it is, even though the other person's intending it to be personal, it isn't. It is a reflection of the other person's suffering and ignorance. So that's where we have to, we have to do a lot of work to come to this conclusion that we're responsible for the harm we experience, not someone else. Buddhas don't feel any suffering at all because they don't create the cause. Well, I'm a long way from being a Buddha. So I suffer, but I will suffer less if I quit associating other people's actions with my suffering. If I recognize I'm suffering in this moment, for one thing, because I'm not keeping my heart open. So I'm allowing someone else's expression of suffering to not penetrate my heart, where I can keep my heart open and see the suffering, not see the action. Doesn't mean we don't get them out of the way of weapons and, and even harsh words. It just means that we are able to recognize it's our choice whether to suffer because someone is nasty to us. Because those words, it says sticks and stones can may break my bones, but words can never hurt us. And that's it's true. But only from our own angle. We have to make that true. So it's this learning that, this is why thinking about karma is so important, this cause and effect. The Buddha said, if, everything is the result of all sorts of conditions coming together, and that can produce a result. So if all the conditions aren't there, that result cannot arise, So it's like you plant the garden, you have, healthy seeds, you have good soil, you have adequate rain, you need to have sunshine, blah, 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 blah. But if there's something in there that's needed and it's not there, it won't grow. Or some things will grow and other things won't, This is cause and effect. It's not bad luck. It just means some condition's not there if it doesn't grow. It's not good luck either. It's just cause and effect. Same thing with all of our experiences. You're shaking your head, Gladys. I'm ready for your question.
Oh my goodness, I've been practicing this so much this week. So I had this moment of aversion because I'm the opposite. I'm connecting with everybody, my job.
I'm supposed to connect. I'm tired of it. Yep.
Exactly. So yesterday I had the moment of aversion. And I went back and I actually meditated and I said, I need compassion. I was going to cancel going out. I didn't. I went out. It was okay. But I feel like going back to your question with are we going to fix the world? Of course I cannot. I have to go back to that because that's my intention.
You can help.
Right. But I feel like sometimes it's exhausting too because I just want to, go out and enjoy. But
and the world interferes, doesn't it, with that? I mean, this is one of the things we have to laugh at.
Yeah. So I caught myself.
Yeah.
And I also felt that it was important for me to speak. So I did, and it turned out okay.
Yeah.
It was good.
So it is a practice. So Gladys is just sharing how, that she had a moment of aversion yesterday and decided to, step back a moment and try to cultivate some compassion, and change the way she responded to the situation and chose to do some things that she didn't plan on originally. So by showing up and actually talking about it, so but there's a part of us that keeps thinking, yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to do that work? If I could just have, a nice experience and just da 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 da. Does anybody else have that thought occasionally? My father used to come home from work, he'd work hard. He was out of town all the time too. And he'd come home because I just want to come to a happy house. Yeah, good luck with that. Got, two teenage kids and younger, not going to happen. So, so sometimes our desire for everything to just go nicely is the obstacle. This desire, please let everything go smoothly according to my preferences.
Everybody's smart.
Yes, please be nice to each other and have no machines break and just, all that stuff. So expectations are critical. Our expectations are like a contract. I expect you to do something. I expect the world to do something. I expect this to happen. Expecting is not a good plan. Doesn't mean we don't plan. It just means holding on to an outcome. Oh, this party's going to be so nice. I'm looking forward to seeing all these people, blah, 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 And you walk in, the first person you see you don't like. And then because that didn't meet your expectation, you have the danger of throwing out the whole evening. Just kind of going, same old crappy universe as usual. We want to look out for that habit because it's not helpful. So letting go of this idea that people and circumstances somehow have to fulfill something in order for us to be happy is starting in the wrong place. That's not going to work out for us. But trying to cultivate this notion that I'm going to come from a place of openness, of whatever happens, I can roll with kind of thing. I can take care of myself. So if danger arises, I can leave, that kind of thing. Sort of this confidence that it sort of doesn't matter how it unfolds. I can make this work for me kind of thing. That makes sense? We really want to, and one of the ways to do this is to recognize this tender heart that is common to us all. Yes, did you have a question? No, I just envisioned one. So we just, it's this, who feels that just even the idea of being able to do that is kind of scary? Keeping your heart open. Hi, Lisa. You're muted.
Yeah, I feel that scary.
Okay. What comes to mind is why it's scary?
I see the benefit, obviously, but I also see the, being vulnerable and just being maybe taken advantage of or something. But yeah, but it's important to keep your heart open, because it provides, you a different insight into what's the other person is suffering, or, like we've been saying.
Yeah, but it can be scary.
Yeah.
I respect that. So what can we do to help ourselves work with that fear? One fear is what? That we'll be rejected in some way. We'll be hurt in some way. Yes, is that a hand? Really, people, I can't, you have mask on, you have to be a little more assertive. Yes, go for it, Graciela.
Well, I was thinking how related is what I am going to say. I was thinking about your question. For me, it's not even a matter of keeping my heart open. It just closes. And so the miracle or the gratitude comes from being aware that it is closed. And as you are talking, I'm thinking, okay, so how do I know? Maybe, this is an insight. How do I know that it's closed? Because I went right into judgment, right into the other person. You a terrible person, blah, 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 blah. And so that would be really helpful, because I need to become aware that my heart is closed so that I can then know that I have
Right.
the option to open.
Yes, we do. That awareness is really important. Knowing when our heart is, that our heart's closed. What can we do with that? One thing we can do with that is then reflect back. So you notice that, my heart, the door is barely open to begin with, and it's locked. So, and then we take a moment away from the situation and we think, what was I thinking? All the blame things like, oh, you're a terrible person, blah, blah, blah. Is it true? Really ask yourself and go through it, allow yourself to think, do I really think, because sometimes we attribute really nasty motives to people. We just assume, oh, they're just being greedy and they're dead. We forget, like, that just like you, they're only thinking of themselves and they probably didn't even notice what you wanted. So, this is one of the things we have to kind of work with, is that we see the world as if we're the center of it. And it's not just our point of view, it's everybody we're coming in contact's point of view. So if they didn't notice that we needed something different, if we attribute some sort of sinister, selfish, like greedy motive to it, perhaps we're not looking at how we do things when we are mindless and, inconsiderate or something. Is it because we are mean-spirited and greedy, or is it because we simply were not taking them into account? We weren't mindful of the others in the room. And those are very different things. Doing something to purposely, take something from someone or be mean or whatever. It takes a little bit of, effort. Most of us don't do it. We really are just thinking about ourselves and our own little world, and we kind of miss other people until they interfere with our world in some way. And then we think, you miserable creep. So we want to look at those stories. If that's our habit, we want to look at it and go, is that really true? Do I matter so much to this person? They concocted this plot to make me miserable in this moment. We really need to be humble about it, to recognize that we're not the center of their attention. So it's very unlikely they put all this thought into whatever they just said or did and not take it so personally. That doesn't mean it's nice. It just means we really feel attacked. Attacks usually come in response. Somebody's careless, says something without thinking, and then someone attacks back. That has a little more thought. We get even. So we really want to look, do we have a habit of attributing motives to people that are kind of convoluted? Probably a lot more, we attribute much more thought to them than was actually present. Have you ever had an experience with somebody where they bring you something and you're kind of like, what? And they're thinking, oh, I thought you'd love this. This is one of my favorite things, whether it's food or something, I can't believe you don't like it. We really can completely miss each other. That doesn't mean that, that we're purposely not thinking of you. It may just mean that our thought of you is completely distorted. Or that we assume because we like something, everybody will like it, which isn't true. No harm, no foul. So we really want to be able to recognize, why am I thinking that? Why am I thinking that this person is so mean or inconsiderate or, was purposely trying to get in my way? And is it useful to think that way? To challenge ourselves and laugh at ourselves? Because it's kind of funny, because we can have this reaction to a stranger, doesn't know us at all. It's really, it's like, I've been in a restaurant or something and somebody's kids are there and they're, acting up and they're noisy and they're loud and they're running through the restaurant or something. I'm really exaggerating it now. And you're thinking, I just wanted a nice, quiet, pleasant dinner and this family is just ruining it. Like they did that on purpose. Like those parents really want their kids to be doing that. And that the world is meant to follow what you need. We have this, this is one of those expectations. The world should cooperate with what we want. And so we're continuously disappointed because it doesn't cooperate with what we want. So we want to look, do we have an attitude that promotes that way of thinking? And is it helpful? Is it at all useful? Because the more we can do 180 degrees? Is that, yeah. 360 gets you back where you started. 180 degree thing and think, what can I bring to this situation? What can I bring to others? How could I make this situation pleasant, comforting, whatever, for others? The more we can turn that around, the more moments of connectedness we'll have, the more pleasant experiences we have. Bye. You can just get up and leave, even though I know that sometimes they say don't get up and leave, but hey, it's even part of our vows as it's not really a vow. It's like a community rule for monks and nuns, is because, you know, sometimes they're little baby monks and nuns, you know, little children, you know. So one of them is that if you need to go pee, you don't wait. Whatever, you get up and go, because little children need to learn, you know, that because you don't want them to wet their pants, because that's not a good look in robes. It's not a good look, period. So, you know, so there's, you know, and also people are often quite gracious in letting monks and nuns go first. That does not apply to the bathroom rule. If you're waiting for the bathroom, there's no jumping ahead, although some people insist. But, you know, we have bodily functions. We're okay to respect them. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but I just wanted to share that. So this is you know, really being able to quit approaching moments with what's in it for me, and approach instead of what can I give, you know, to just reverse that tendency. And it's not always easy. We also have to have boundaries. It's very important not to give beyond our capacity, because then we get tired and we get mad and we just don't want to do anything. So keeping the heart open does not mean, you know, that you're inviting people in to stomp on it or take advantage of it or any of those things. It doesn't mean you're willing to do something in every moment for someone else, whatever it is. I mean, a Buddha can do that, you know, but we're not at that level. So we have to have our boundaries so that we can protect others from, you know, our exhaustion. It does, you know, we want to not overextend. And it's you know, it's going to be a balancing act. It's going to change. Sometimes we're able to do more than other times. Sometimes we really need to back off. Sometimes what we really need is to ask for help. You know, that it's our turn to receive because of our situations. What is the advantage of needing something?
Somebody else the opportunity to do something.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for someone else to give. The only reason we have good qualities is because others need something. And that's a wonderful thing. So this idea that, oh, I shouldn't be dependent, I shouldn't need anything, blah, 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 is selfish. You know, the only way people can give to you is if you need something. This is how we develop our generosity. So being the one in need, being the one who can offer help, just changes places all the time. It's a good thing. How are y'all at home? Lou's good, good enough. Hi, Lisa. I'm Peggy. Hi, Esther. I'm giving you a hug in my mind. Hi, Arpita. Hi, Carol. And Patty. I didn't mean to leave you. Yes.
I have a question. So it becomes more work, right? If you were, I should have the answer for this. That's what I'm thinking before I ask this question, but I'm going to ask it. It becomes more work if you grew up with that expectation in your family, though.
Yeah, but why were you born in that family? Because you have that habit. Yeah, it's not luck or bad luck or good luck. It's cause and effect. Cause and effect is huge. And only a Buddha can know all the causes and effects, you know. But thinking that, oh, well, I learned that in my family. Well, maybe it's no surprise you were born there. We're attracted to our habits because we're attracted to what is familiar. Not whether it's good or bad, it's what's familiar. We're comfortable with what's familiar. As soon as you do something that's a little unfamiliar, anxiety arises. You know, so we have to start to learn that maybe that's excitement, you know, but we just call it by something else just because anxiety sounds terrible, you know. Anyway, but I mean, that's the thing. We are attracted to what's familiar. So we hang out with people with similar habits, we do, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's not a good habit. It just perpetuates, you know, it's like hanging out with people who have the same point of view as you, because you don't want to have to, you know, deal with disagreements or whatever. I mean, sometimes that's a smart thing to do because, you know, it's been our whole life, you know, disagreeing. But really, it's, you know, we want to look at how close do we keep our comfort zone, you know, and try to imagine more fluid edges, you know, so we can be, you know, because it's how we grow our heart. Oh. So doing an exercise of every day, trying to tap into that tender spot of the heart can help us through the day be a little more receptive to like noticing the suffering of others so we don't shut them out, noticing our own suffering so we take good care. You know, we need to notice when our buttons have been pressed so we can kind of give ourselves a little distance to reassure ourselves that we're not going to ask too much of ourselves. We're, you know, that it's okay. You know, like if fear arises or anxiety arises or just whatever, if anger arises, we want to know, okay, I need to pause here. I don't want to, you know, it's unrealistic to expect myself to be able to change a disturbing emotion as it's happening. You know, when it's arisen, we're out of control. That's why we call it disturbing. So it's okay, you know, we want to be in tune to that and be able to go, okay, pause, step back. Nobody has to see us do this. It's because you'll all be in the mind. And we want to go as gradually as we need to go. But practicing it when you're alone, in a quiet space, a safe space, allows us to grow our heart, grow our attributes, you know, a little more, so that we can expand our horizons. And remember that even though we can be hurt by others, others can be hurt by us, it is from our ignorance. It's not because we're malicious, vicious people. It's because we misunderstand how to help each other, how to support each other, how to be happy. So it's, you know, we want to be kind to ourselves and kind to each other. We want to recognize I might need space, so might they. And when someone screws up, remember that you do it too. So what do we do when we feel squashed? We keep our heart open and then we feel like someone stomped on it. What's that about anyway? Yeah, Marianne.
I was just gonna ask about that. I had some company come and visit me not too long ago, and it's a family member from another state. And this person was continually critical, and I've always kept my mouth shut, you know, to keep peace. I didn't want to cause problems in front of anybody. But, you know, how do you, and of course, then they take advantage all the more. You know, I'm sitting.
Okay, so you're sitting, so what happened was this time, this experience was more difficult for you to do what you usually do, which is just to stay in.
Become a little more outspoken.
And also perhaps you're also in a sensitive spot.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
so we need to be aware that it's not one-sided. You know, when our buttons get pressed, it's not just an action from outside. It's because we're wearing that button more prominently. So someone can even just bump into it by mistake, you know, but it's because our life is difficult in that moment. You know, something's going on for us. We're a little more sensitive. Life is a little harder. And so it's like we can't bear, you know, the same level of difficulties, you know. So like, you know, so if someone's being critical all the time, it may just be, you know, it's like one more voice in all the stress that you can't handle. So we need to be aware of that, you know, that it's like, you know, and they don't know that. Now, it's not that they couldn't know that, you know, they could, but they don't know that. So I think it's just that, you know, are you asking, is it okay to like speak up?
Yeah, I'm feeling like, you know, that, yeah, I should speak. I mean, this has been going on for years.
Yeah, so this should is probably a little, you know,
and you know,
irrelevant.
And of course, it keeps continuing, but it probably would anyway, even if I did speak up. So, you know, I just find myself just trying to get through the time, and then they're gone, you know what I mean? She's gone. But I don't know what the appropriate behavior should be for me, you know, in terms of dealing somebody who constantly, I mean, it's constant. And I have found out it's not just me, because I, you know, after a while you begin to wonder. You know.
Okay, so what are some things that come to mind? I mean, one is, of course, that you don't have to listen. You know, we really don't have to listen to other people's negativity. Doesn't mean we don't have to maybe be in the same room, but we really don't have to listen. Have you ever had the TV on and you're just not paying any attention? Or you turn off, you know, it's on, but you just quit listening because you're not interested in whatever's going on or whatever, or you just don't want to hear it. You can do that to people too. It's okay to not listen to something that's not constructive. There's nothing going on there that's, you know, it's a habit that this person has, you know. So you don't have to listen, which can just at least blunt the edge of those words, because it's about her, not about you or him. It's not about you. So that can help you step back a little, you know, knowing that this is the way this person behaves. It has nothing to do with me. You may have to, you know, remind yourself of that. It can, and you can also remind yourself it's harder because I'm tired or I have this going on, you know, and maybe I won't invite them for so long next time, or not invite them at all because I'll need a break, or not invite them when things are going on for me because it's very difficult. You know, sometimes though we have, you know, especially relatives, we want to keep them in our lives, you know, but we couldn't live with them, you know, or we hope we don't have to ever live with them. Whatever. But the point is that it's okay to recognize this is not a good time to have to be in this kind of space. If you know, you might talk to them, that's a depends, because it just depends. If you can come from a loving place that says, I really would like to spend more time with you, but I'm finding that you know, that what I hear is nothing but negative things and I can't handle it right now. You know, but you have to really have a clean motivation to be able to do that without it being an attack. You know, like, why don't you get over yourself, or change your habit, or can't you be nice, or can't you shut up? You know, those things are not constructive either. So it's just, and being able to see that this is not a happy person, even if they think this is the way to be happy. But it's okay to have boundaries, to just, limit it. And it's harder to have conversations with people that you don't see very often. But people we have ongoing relationships with, it's compassionate to ourselves and others to try to improve the relationship if there's a way to do that. But we just have to keep checking our motivation.
Well, recently I learned that criticizing, advice giving, and controlling are a way of saying I matter.
Yes, a way of saying I matter, I count, my opinion counts. Does that make sense? Does that ring true?
And I was thinking in particular about my sister, and thinking of it that way, it gives me a lot more compassion and also a different way to try to reach her, because she doesn't, at some level she feels very important. At some other level, she does what she does.
Okay, so I bring that back to you and think about that other person you were talking about earlier, that where you have diversion just immediately arise and blah, 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 blah. You need to try to start there.
Where?
Same thing is being able to imagine, you may not know what it is, but imagine there's something, if this is reflecting some sort of suffering that this person has, and that then you can have compassion arise. That's keeping your heart open, being able to say, wow, this person, needs, maybe they're incredibly lonely, and maybe this is why, but it's just, it's that, but coming from a place of just acknowledging that they're unaware of the effect they're having, or they might be aware, which is really painful to know that someone knows they're not making friends this way, but they don't know how to stop. Do you have any habits where you just don't know how to stop it? We want to have compassion for that.
That's the only way I've survived all these years.
Well, yeah.
By having compassion,
Yeah.
knowing that she's an unhappy person.
Yep.
And I wonder how you can ignore, like you said, don't pay attention.
Don't listen. There's a
Don't
difference.
listen. And yet there's a question that always comes up, well, why do you do this? I mean, so whatever she says.
You can just
she
say,
elicits a reply.
Yeah, but I mean,
So I
it's
just don't say anything.
yeah, it's okay to do. Whenever people ask me, why would you do that? I go, because I have a disturbed mind. That's the only reasonable.
I like that.
Well, it's true too. Why haven't I exercised in a year? Because I'm an idiot. I mean, this is not rocket science. This is, it's like, because I don't think they'll make me happy, because I don't want to. I'm a 2-year-old and having a tantrum. Now I can't move. But hey, I mean, this is the thing. We really have to understand that we're all in this boat. It's not because we are stupid, or that we just da 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 da, or we don't know better. We do know better. We do, but we have disturbed minds, and those disturbed minds, when they arise, get in our way. There's no wisdom there. Yeah,
If I give my opinion, am I being self-important?
maybe. It depends on your motivation. If you're giving your opinion because you think it might be useful to the conversation, or that you're kind of curious about other people's points of view, it depends on motivation. I know for me that I often give my opinion because I want to stick myself in the center. There's no question about it. It's a way of getting attention. It's not a good, healthy way. It's not a good way. It's not a good idea. But it's like, okay, y'all have talked around me long enough. I need to assert myself.
I need to be neutral.
No, you don't have to be neutral. We have opinions.
Just keep it myself.
Well, no, the point is, we don't need to think our opinions are somehow better than someone else's opinions.
Still good.
Well, you can. It depends. If you give an opinion that's just going to stir the pot and cause anger and ugly discussions, then you won't want to ask yourself, why would you do that? You know, we want more harmony, not less. That doesn't mean always shutting up, because sometimes harmony comes from letting someone in to the information that's hurtful. That's offensive. You know, to say, you know, it hurts me when you say that. So it depends, but our motivation is really critical. You know, we're really trying to just show what we're worth, or if we're, yes.
Sometimes the question why is very intimidating to people in itself. Just
Mhm.
why do you do that? Why, you know? And yes, if you realize they're coming from a injured person, it helps, I guess. But sometimes I think you have to stand up to the people too, so they don't continue to do this over and over, like criticize and put down.
Yeah, but it's, again, you want to try to be very skillful in how you do it. And some people are better at it than others.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's also about understand that different people have processes going on. Every one of us carry different baggage. You know, there's all this stuff that we carry inside us that block us from being open for change. And each people will take in a specific time to change. There's no way for us to try to impose, no, now it's time for you to change. Let's change this right here. I mean, it could be going on for years. So I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, we have to respect the process of people. I mean, so, but it doesn't mean we can't have conversations that we think might help. You know, it doesn't mean we can't clue them in to feeling hurt, you know, or not, you know, it's, or think that it's, gee, that doesn't sound nice. We might not be hurt, but we just kind of go, you know, that doesn't sound nice. Maybe it could be a different way. Yeah, yeah. You know, this habit we've all gotten into of taking our mask off when we talk is the opposite of what we need to be doing. Because it's when we talk, we're spitting and da, 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 da. I know it's tempting, but you can pull your mask out a little bit.
Is it also an opportunity to practice patience?
Always. Everything's an opportunity to practice patience. You know, being able to pause before inserting yourself at all is because that pause gives us time to really kind of notice whether we've gotten ourselves, you know, like if a button's been pressed, or if you know, if it's now becoming about us before we respond. No. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, it's all an opportunity for patience. So
I think Peggy has her hand up.
okay.
I was just going to say, this conversation reminds me of several years ago when you were helping us out before holidays, like when the family comes in at Thanksgiving and Christmas and so on. And sometimes it's just okay to give the victory to others.
Yep.
Without being a martyr about it, and just see how much easier that goes. You know, you don't have to be right. You don't have to believe they're right. But if you just give it away in a peaceful manner, if you're not being threatened in any way.
Yeah.
For me, that has worked over and over.
And that's one of the ways that we can be practicing patience, you know, is this idea of we don't have to continue to disagree with someone. We can just sometimes, you know, agree to disagree, you know, or just let it go. You know, that's sort of giving that victory over. If it's so important to someone else to have the last word, we can let them have it. Doesn't mean we're changing our point of view. They may think it does, but we can't control that. So it really is just about being able to it in context of the big picture. You know, what's the whole visit going to look like? What is the, you know, what is the relationship overall like? You know, and we cut each other slack, you know, because everybody has hiccups rather regularly. So, you know, and it's easy. We do it with our friends all the time. You know, we're able to tolerate certain things, you know, a lot because we see them all the time and we like them. And we just want to broaden that to being that way with strangers, assuming that this is somebody's friend, you know, and we might not like the way that they talk to us or how they do their job or whatever, but that, you know, it's not very important, is it? If we make every moment that someone kind of doesn't live up to what our idea was important, there's no chance for us to have a good day. You know?
Possibility also exists that the other person might have an observation that might be worthwhile for us to pay attention to.
Absolutely. It just depends how many decades they've been saying it. Yeah, yes, no, I mean, that's one of the things is if someone's being critical, we might want to check, you know, you want to listen the first time. Right. That's exactly right. We don't learn by talking. We learn by listening. So we just, you know, it's just sort of like this, but this doesn't mean that if someone continually puts on the same record, it's okay to just not listen. No, it doesn't mean you're not attentive to that person's body language, to their, you know, what's going on. But, you know, their words don't have a whole lot of meaning if they're just spouting negativity. And that's what their habit is. They do it every time you see them, you know. Because sometimes even not getting engaged in it can help interrupt their habit. But probably not. You know, we don't want to get caught up in that expectation. You know, and it's hard, you know, it's like, you know, people now can't discuss what it used to be. You couldn't discuss religion. Now you can't discuss religion, politics, textbooks in school. You know, there's nothing you can discuss anymore. So, you know, we need to keep our conversations with, you know, lighter. So it's, you know, because the more important thing is in a crisis, can you turn to others for help? And generally we find that we can. You know, most of us have hurricane memories and, you know, situations where, you know, where we had to rely on strangers and hey, they were available. That's important. You know, it's like, you know, the fact that we disagree on everything else isn't quite as important. It does not mean we shouldn't be proactive to try to make policies and laws and rules and textbooks, you know, better. It just means we recognize that we don't want to hate people while we're doing it. We don't want to think that they are just absolutely wrong and we must change this. That kind of motivation, you know, brings divisiveness. We want to be able to feel confident in our point of view so that we can discuss it with confidence and without wanting to wring someone's neck. Because beyond that surface, everybody pretty much cares about the same thing. They want their children to be safe. They want their world to be safe. They, you know, they want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. You know, it's not complicated from that perspective. So we're not alien creatures trying to come to the same point of view. We're very similar beings who happen to develop different points of view because of our histories and what we carry with us and our habit energies and just our point of view. So we just want in every moment of our interactions with others, the more we can just not take that surface, but just assume that we can develop this assumption. This is just another human being like me or sentient being like me. You know, just stay open. It's time. Oops. All right. I'm running on. Are there announcements? Do you know of any announcements? Is Venerable Robina here next?
Next Sunday, yeah. And just want to mention that for that, we are asking everyone to register because we're limiting attendance to 25 in person. So I'm hoping that we don't turn anyone away, but if the 25 people want those who are registered, registered in advance will have to be part of the event. So if you're interested in attending any of those teachings, please register. I think they're going to be 10. So
Venerable Tendron, we cannot hear what he's saying. I'm so
I know,
sorry.
but
I can't hear a word he's saying.
we'll get to that. But yeah, so register for any one of those. You can attend Zoom. There's no capacity there, so we can place your lovely face on the TV.
I need to repeat what you're saying to the
Yeah, I can.
You want to say it up in the mic?
Put it in an email, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
Am I still talking? Okay, I can't tell. I have this little funny little symbol by my name and I don't know what it means. So Venerable Robina is here next weekend, 10 teachings, we think,
Over the course.
over the course of whatever, register. If you want to see her in person, register because there's a limit number of seatings. As you know, Venerable Robina can bring people in. It's also a lot of it's going to be on Zoom, so you can also do that. And unfortunately, no limit with that. But if you want to see her in person, you must go ahead and register so that you have a seat. So, was there something else? So please, our center manager really wants you to register. Our SPC, our spiritual program coordinator, really wants you to register because we don't want you to be disappointed. And Venerable Robina is well worth, she doesn't suit everybody, but she's the reason why I'm a nun, no doubt about it. She is well worth hearing her teachings. So she's dynamic, and she's been a nun for over, 40 years, long time.
40, did you say?
Over 40. I can't remember. It seems to me when I met her, she'd been a nun for 25. It's been 20 years. So, because I'm sure she ordained in the 70s. So whatever that is. Time passes, doesn't it? So, and of course she knew Lama Yeshe, she's been a student of Rinpoche, but she knows the Dharma very well. So I encourage you to try her out. If her style doesn't suit you, that's okay. Don't force yourself. If it does, you can learn quite a lot. Okay. Thank you, Anthony. I can't believe I didn't notice that was up there. Prayers. We have to dedicate. We want to dedicate our efforts, any positive things from our efforts. That's going to bring positive results. That's the way cause and effect works. So we just don't want to be selfish with it. We want to dedicate it to benefit others. So because I'm so late, we can just think to, just imagine, all sentient beings, all suffering sentient beings, whether they're in the ocean or on the ground or under the ground or other human beings, wherever they are in the universe, that we're dedicating whatever possible positive results result from our efforts and from all the merits of all ordinary beings and holy beings, that it doesn't exhaust until the great enlightenment when there are no suffering beings at all. So particularly those, and that all the horrible things that happen. So we want to have that end. What's the other thing? With the long lives of our teachers, remember that, learning the Buddhist teachings, it's alive because of our teachers and their hard work of studying it and bringing it to us. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe started all these centers around the world. We wouldn't have the Dharma in the West without such teachers as these. So, and His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. So making a strong wish that they live long, have long, happy, healthy lives, and continue to teach us. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the clock. Take good care, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Anybody
you.
brought their- anybody brought their lunch, please feel free to stay and chit chat.